everyone. This is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting, and this is episode 23. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Laura. I'm from New York. I post stuff that's interesting. That's pretty much it. And if you've come back, then thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. Now, we have quite the rabbit hole that I have fallen into, so I'm just going to get it started. So, see these guys here? The entire rabbit hole that I fell down started with these two guys. The silent grand schema monks of the Russian Orthodox Church, Balam Monastery, Russian Karelia. So, Great Schema is the fourth and final highest order of the Orthodox monkhood. There's Novice, Rasifor, Stravofor, and then the Great Schema, which is known as Novice, Robe Bearer, Cross Bearer, and the Great Schema is the Great Schema. And the vestments are unique depending on where you're at along your journey. Someone on this Reddit post said that they met a schema nun once and that they were thoroughly spooked because it looked like she had the wisdom of the ancients in her eyes. And so there's some comments here. Now, let's talk about Karelia. Where is Karelia? Okay, so if we zoom all the way out, there's Karelia right there. There are 85, I don't know if they're called municipalities, but counties maybe, in Russia. And Karelia is one of them. Now, something I found interesting when I was looking at Karelia is if you zoom in really far, let me see, was I there? Oh, Lord Jesus, not this again. Okay, forget it. There are weird lines on the map. The link will be in the comments, and you can see if you can find them. But there's like weird lines, and I don't know if they're deliberate or if stuff is just like kind of wiped away and then just the roads are left. I don't know. But that's Karelia. Let's look at some photos of Karelia. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, we got a church. Some wooden structures. Looks like a fairly normal place. I believe it has, I want to say like 6 million people. 2 million people live in the capital, and then there's a couple of other areas where there's more condensed population, and then everywhere else it's pretty spread out. But you can see it's beautiful, beautiful country, absolutely beautiful. Very rugged looking, so it's I don't know. I guess maybe it's Russia's Maine, kind of in a way. Okay, why did I come here? I had a reason. Ah, yes. Okay, so we've looked at where Karelia is. Let's see what the latest news are for today. The roads are bad because they're bad. Bad weather. A soldier died. Roads are going to be repaired. There's power outages. Top 100 most influential people. Sheets of iron threaten to fall on the heads of residents. Bus station has changed the schedule. So those are the basic headlines. Let's see where else where Karelia is in the news. Russian military announces plan to expand and create new units from drawing a pool of people from Karelia. So there's going to be people that are going to be coming down from Karelia into Ukraine to fight at the whim and will of their fearless leader. How else is Karelia in the news? Karelia Republic may become one of the centers of mining in Russia in years to come. So this is where the mining is going to happen in the future. So there's going to be a big kind of move to this area. And this area is located right against Finland. So it's also very strategic because it's right next to Finland, and then it's also you've got the White Sea above it. So it's critical. It's a critical spot, and with mining, it's going to become even more critical. This is what some of the mining looks like. This was just a pretty picture. I just threw it in there. This is I don't know what this is. This is looks like Chelp. See, it's got a question mark. I don't know. Some sort of matrix. It's very beautiful. The anomalous zones. So there are considered 8 places in the world where things are anomalous. The energy is different. They're places where stuff can happen. Interesting stuff. So if we look, we have Mount Vadovara, Karelia, German airfield, Elbrus, Glade of Stone Mushrooms, Elbrus, Temple of the Sun, Crimea, Dancing Forest, Curonian Spit, Cape Meganom, Crimea, Golasov Ravine, Moscow, and the Sami Labyrinths, Solovetsky Islands, which we're actually going to look at today. I think that's one of the things we're looking at. But Mount Vadovara is one of the most famous anomalous zones in Russia. It is often called the place of power. So these monks, if they had to choose like where their place of power was going to be in the country, this is it. This is the place of power. On the mountain, you can see a lot of amazing things that are difficult to explain from a scientific point of view. Sammy-seed stones with perfectly smooth splits, twisted trees, stairs to the sky, and just very beautiful landscapes of Karelian nature. So far, not many tourists come, probably because it's in the middle of nowhere. But there's all these rocks that are kind of perfectly kind of smashed all over the place, and we'll come back to that. So there it is. That's where we are right now, Karelia. So let's keep it moving. The scroll reads, this is an old map from 1582. The Scythians believed in the story of a woman who was born from the earth, being half in the shape of a woman and half made of vipers. After making love to Jupiter, she gave birth to a boy named Skyda. The Scythians are believed to be the first human beings. From them derived Janus, Diri, and the ancestors who led colonies to Italy and other parts of Europe. So that's an ancient map of Karelia with some interesting text. The rituals of Orthodox Karelia. So it's a shamanistic worldview, almost pagan, if you will, and there's great belief in the supernatural, myths, spirits, other worlds. Things of that nature are not unusual in Karelia. They're seen as just sort of part of the world. That's just what it is. You see a spirit in the forest, well, that's just Karelia. They got spirits in the forest. So you can read about the power residing of nature, the nature and purpose of ritual, the different types of rituals that they do. Most rituals were used to contact, control, and persuade a certain supernatural element into doing the bidding of the performer. Both Christian and pagan elements were called upon for help. This kind of dialogue could not be held with a major deity, such as the Christian God, but was restricted to the nature spirits and some Christianized spirits as said above. So there's a little bit about the rituals. Here we have a monk. He looks a little tired. I want to give him a hug. This is completely random. This is something I found. Check this out. This is an ad to join the Karelia monasteries. It's saying, hey, come join us. Come join our monasteries. But if you look, it's nothing it's nothing but beautiful women. And if we scroll up all the way without me doing anything, here we go. We go to menu, And then we go to Rukaset, which is where I was earlier. More women, more beautiful women. I guess ugly women don't pray in Karelia. Very interesting campaign, I would say. Wouldn't you say? All right. A Karelian monk wearing whatever that's called. Okay. Now, oops. Translate. I didn't translate ahead of time. Okay, here we go. Here's some pictures of Karelia. I don't remember why I chose this, included this article. There has to be a reason. Maybe not, though. Maybe there is no reason. Okay, there is no reason. There you have it. This talks about the different ranks that we talked about earlier. The novice, the Rasifor, the Stravofor, and the great schema. It talks about the different ones. The meaning of the analavos of the great schema. So this is the vestments that they wear and what the different vestments mean in terms of chastity, obedience, and poverty, and how they're sort of put on and the order in which they're put on and the order in which you get them. Really interesting stuff. This breaks down the symbolism on the vestments and what it all kind of means for this particular region. Now look at this guy. I love him. All right, so then it has some vocabulary that you can read that applies to this particular sect. There were also nuns. You could also be a nun if you really wanted to. You still could. You still can, I think. Like, I think if I wanted to become a schema nun, I could probably offer myself up. I probably wouldn't get that far, though. Vows of tonsure to the great schema. Why have you come, brother, falling down before the holy altar and before this holy brotherhood? I desire the life, Reverend Father. Do you desire to be worthy of the angelic habit and to be enrolled in the choir of the monastics? Yes, God helping me, Reverend Father. Truly you have chosen a good and blessed work, but only if you complete it. Good things are acquired with toil and achieved with pain. Do you come to the Lord of your own free will? Yes, God helping me, Reverend Father. Not from any necessity or violence? No, Reverend Father. Do you renounce the world and the things which are in the world? Will you remain in the monastery up till your last breath? Will you preserve obedience to the superior and the whole brotherhood in Christ? Will you endure every affliction and deprivation of the monastic life for the sake of the kingdom in heavens? Will you preserve yourself in virginity, chastity, and piety? Yes, God helping me, Reverend Father. And then there's a whole thing that they would say. And then the last thing that is said is, do you thus profess all these things in the hope of the strength of God, and do you agree to persevere in these promises until the end of life by the grace of Christ? Yes, God helping me, Father. That's obviously a translation. Now let's go into some of the weirder stuff about Karelia. Now we're getting into the cool stuff. There is rock art, and the rock art is painted this way. Like, you know how it looks, see how it looks like it has a light around it? That's actually the way it's painted. That's what it looks like when you look at it. And it's painted that way. It kind of gives it like a special effect. Really neat kind of stuff. Karelian drawing depicting a large figure, more petroglyphs. So I said to myself, if there's petroglyphs, there's got to be cupules, right? So then I found this neat little article, and I went, cupules. Oh, no, I went Karelia. Karelia. Oh, no, there should be one. Karelia. Dang it. I wanted to show you how smart I was. I can't find it now. Basically, it says that every other place in the world there are cupules, but in Karelia, there are no cupules. And scientists and archaeologists and all the people that study this kind of stuff have no idea why. So there you have it. Okay, now we're getting into the really good stuff. All right. Yes. Okay. All right. So, shungite is a mineral that comes from Karelia. Oh, that's why I spelled it wrong. That's why I couldn't find it. Durr. Shungite is tightly packed with fullerenes, packed balls of carbon atoms. Also, you might have heard them called buckyballs. So buckyballs occur in shungite, and shungite is considered an incredibly powerful stone by believers of metaphysical properties. They're very grounding, lots of earth energies, defense against harmful energies created by the electromagnetic frequencies of man-made electronic devices, energizes and grounds your root chakra, allows your body to become more receptive to energies in the higher chakras, and deflects away bad luck and other bad injuries. And then it goes on to some more. It's made deep in the earth, and then it gets pushed up through volcanic activity. The 4 main fields of shungite are in Russia, although there have been pockets found in Austria, India, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Michigan in the United States. Michigan has shungite. I did not know that. That's very cool. Shungite water. You can take some shungite and you can put it in your water, and it purifies it, and it enriches it with oxygen, and it kills bacteria, and it removes pesticides and pharmaceuticals, and so on and so forth, because of its carbon-based fullerene internal structure. And I was like, that can't be right. What is that? Well, you know what? It is right. Shungite has antioxidant, cytotoxic, and adsorption properties. So, like I said, a little bit of kernel. Supernatural creatures in early Russian mythology and folklore. These are some of the creatures that are believed to exist. The Leshli is one that would be closely related to Karelia because it's someone that lives in the trees. It can turn into a hare, a bear, a white wolf, a tree, a mushroom. There's witches, wizards, and znaknars. A znaknar is a witch doctor, is a man who has magical knowledge. We have mermaids. It's a good read. It also makes you realize how similar a lot of our stories are. Like across cultures, there are stories that are very similar. These are all of the sacred sites in Russia. And I think I saved this because I was going to come back to it later. But these are the different sites. And mystical places of power. Here we go. Mount Vadavara. Now, Mount Vadavara has a place on it called the Devil's Chair. Some scholars continue the Vadavara Plateau with a heap of boulders to be an ancient Sami sanctuary. Sami are the people that lived in the area that is now Finland and Karelia. Those kind of straddles the border there. According to others, this object was formed under the influence of glaciers and earthquakes. Seeds were found on the mountains, boulders standing on several small stones, as well as a ladder formed by the winds and a bath, a depression filled with water. The mountain has an attractive power. So here we have some pictures of the area, Mount Sampo. More petroglyphs, islands. Now, interestingly, this area lies on a ley line. Number 2. Not only does it lay on a ley line, it lays on an intersection of ley lines. Coincidence? I don't know. It's very interesting. And also, that particular ley line, if you were to, you can draw a line to that to Stonehenge, and if you keep going, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it points at the Georgia Guidestones, which no longer exist. Okay, I don't want to keep reading for free. I don't have an account. Go away. This is good. Moving away from that, we are going to go into the phenomenon of 20 September 1977 in Karelia. This became known as the Petrovsk phenomenon. And it was a UFO, basically, in the sky. So what happened is there was an object which left a glowing strip, and it resembled Medusa. Most of the observations occurred between 4 and 4:20 Moscow time. First, the strange phenomenon was observed in Medvedgorsk and then in the Karelian village of Luki, and later over Kovdor and Palangua, which is in Lithuania. So anyway, it was observed in a lot of different countries by, not a lot, but in that surrounding area it was observed. So here is a picture, one of the few surviving pictures. And here's a picture that someone drew of what it looked like. And here is another picture. Now, it is said that perhaps there was a rocket launch, and that's what the people were seeing, because rocket launches, as you've seen in the news with Elon Musk, launching SpaceX stuff, you get sort of weird spirals and colors in the sky. So, is that what it is? Is that what it was? It looked like a jellyfish, and it had a multitude of very fine rays which created the image of a flood of rain. And after some time, the luminescent rays ceased. The jellyfish turned into a bright semicircle and resumed its movement towards Onega Lake. So there was a thing that came in, jellyfish activity everywhere, all over, and then it went away. Okay, so an article, so it was published in the paper. It went on for 12 minutes. The authorities reported that the inhabitants of the city saw the light of the new Army satellite Cosmos 955, which was launched from Plesetsk. The strange beams of light were explained by the rising sun, which illuminated the exhaust jets of the rocket. This version was also supported by V.V. Migulin, director of the Institute of Terrestrial Magnetism, Ionosphere and Radio Wave Propagation. But later, one of the employees of the State Astronomical Institute said, no, that doesn't explain it. And it doesn't explain the facts, and it doesn't explain what people saw. Hours before the launch of a rocket with a satellite, a large fireball was recorded above the city, which flew from west to east. And an hour before the aforementioned phenomenon, a similar object was pursued by a plane flying from Kiev to Leningrad throughout the entire route. As confirmation, a recording of the conversation between the controller and pilot was used. So, I don't know, UFO visited Karelia and put on a light show. This is in Reddit, and this has wonderful comments as always. It just kind of goes on and talks about it. And I don't know why I saved so many dang links. But there is speculation that maybe it was a rocket, because when rockets are launched, this is the kind of thing that you see. I could see how that could be called a jellyfish. That spiral's pretty crazy. That's probably the most similar to what's being described. But I personally am of the opinion that something else happened entirely. And it probably was a UFO. Oh, going back to Vodovera, the sacred mountain, there are these stairs on there, and it is said that they're natural. I don't know. They don't look very natural to me. These are the boulders that just crack. That there's these boulders in this particular area, and all of them are cleaved cleanly. And they're known as jumping boulders, and they're on the summit surface of the mountain northeastward of the central deformation zone. And also on Vodovera, we have these guys. Oh my God. It takes me like 5 minutes to close the links. So, yeah, we have these guys. And a lot of them, too. There's the stairs that are supposedly natural. I don't think they're natural. I think they're probably man-made. But man-made a really long time ago. Then there's this thing, which they also say is natural. Okay. This is what it looks like there. And as you can see, nothing. No trees really grow. Here we have some of the cleaved rocks. Some more of the cleaved rocks. And so interesting that they've just kind of, you know. The amazing megaliths of Karelia, Mount Vodovara, Russia. This has some stuff that you can read about it. Now, to my eye, it looks almost like the musical stones that we looked at a couple of episodes ago, where I showed you how people could play the stones in this particular area. I believe it might have been Gabustan. The other thing that exists on this mountain and in this area, besides these stones that are sort of balanced on 3 other stones, it looks like. Wow, it really goes on and on. Okay, so this thing shows no sign of stopping. I'll leave it. You guys can keep looking at the stones. But there's also labyrinths in Karelia. And there's mysterious stone labyrinths. What are they? What were they for? And there are a lot of different ones. And they are probably part of their religious rituals. Scientists still do not know what these labyrinths were really created for. Many contemporary researchers believe that such structures had a ritual meaning. No, duh, you think so? The spiral is one of the world's ancient symbols found in every culture in one way or another, and especially often associated with rituals such as initiation. There's a labyrinth near here. That's kind of cool. This is I wanted to show you, this is an island that has some supernatural activity on it. And you can see it's just beautiful. Beautiful island. Look how dark that soil is. Very beautiful place. Now we move into the next theory that has to deal with Karelia, and this one is a corker. Ethnographic snowmobile expedition across North Karelia is over. The Hyperborea of Kalavla ethnographic snowmobile expedition across North Karelia came to the end on January 31st. 6 people on 5 snowmobiles participated in the exhibition. So they went up to Panozero, which is the oldest village of the White Sea on the coast of Karelia. So that's all the way up at the top. So they went to all these different places on snowmobiles. But it was called the Hyperborea of Kalevala. And I said, Hyperborea? That sounds really familiar. Where have I heard that before? And then I found out that they have a Hyperborea festival. And I'm like, Hyperborea, where have I heard that before? Bam! Hyperborea is the mythical place located at the North Pole. So, up at the North Pole, there's just supposed to be ice with, nothing underneath it. But according to these old maps, not only are there these 4 places, but there's a portal in the middle where you go into the hollow earth and you can meet the residents of the hollow earth that live in Shabbalah in perfect harmony. So this talks about Hyperborea, which is a mythical Arctic continent. It's where the Hyperboreans and the Terraphores live. Arctoa might mean land of bears. Hyperboreans were a mythical people living beyond Boreas, which is the north wind. And Petrophorus means that have wings, possibly another myth about winged people living far north. So we are moving on. I'm not too swift today. I say that every time I come on, don't I? I'm like, I guess I'm just not that swift. Also in Karelia, lots of ethnopharmacology, traditional methods. That should have been a few links back. Russian scientist finds paradise at the North Pole. Doctor of philosophy Valery Diamond, a researcher of the Arctic region, maintains that Hyperborea beyond the Boreas, a mythical land that the Greeks thought was located beyond Scythia, existed in reality. The legendary French scientist Jean-Sylvain Baillet attempted to prove the existence of Hyperborea a few centuries ago. And then it talks about Hyperborea, traces of an ancient civilization, and that these islands are kept a secret from us, and that Catherine the Great was really especially interested because the fountain of youth, or the elixir of youth, was rumored to exist there. So this is the secret of nature, or ancient Hyperboreans. In recent years, many expert teams have been trying to find the remains of the ancient land of Hyperborea, the leading representative of all world civilizations. Traces of this ancient civilization were found on the Kola Peninsula. And it talks about when it first came about. Hyperboreans could control the weather. They could fly long distances. They could build large buildings. They never got sick. They lived without disputes and endless happiness. When the inhabitants were saturated with life, they ended their earthly pilgrimage by jumping into the sea from high rocks. And then Hyperborea went underwater due to some cataclysm. Where have we heard that before? Here's some more stuff about Hyperborea. And then this is the map. This will be in the links. This is really this is the one to look at because you can blow it up nice and big, and the detail isn't too much sacrificed. Unless you do that. So there's some stuff there. More stuff. And it was considered Atlantis' rival. And we're coming to the end. So this guy had a meeting with an unknown Russian wandering monk. And there's a story about his interaction with this wandering Russian monk. So some of these Russian monks, they just wander. They don't actually pick a place to live, because then that would be considered sort of giving in, and settling down. They're supposed to be unsettled. They're supposed to be traveling around. They're supposed to be doing these acts that show their great, love of God or their gods. And this wandering monk was wandering around, and these people ran into him. And they were like, hey, it's a wandering monk. All right, so that was Karelia. Karelia is an interesting place, huh, when you say? We are now going to listen to some music and close by looking at some pictures that I found that are very, very cool. And I hope everybody is having a good weekend. And I will see you soon. Bye, guys.